Hey, Tim Distortion here, doing a daily short from the studio for Distortion's Got Issues. I wanted to talk to you about people's perceptions of situations affecting the way that they think and the way that they act and the way that they move and the way that they talk to other human beings. If you grew up in a Victorian age family where there's lots of children to try and bridge the gap between, eating and not. So the kids would, go out in the streets and scavenge and run about and do all that. And, sadly, some of them would die. So they had a lot of children to replace those. You'd grow up with the whole poverty trap thing. However much you work, you can't get to be the big man in the big house. Now, luckily, we don't grow up in that world anymore, but that was a big part of society's breeding. So, in England especially, that's where a lot of us come from, that kind of world. I'm myself kind of one generation removed from money. My grandmother's father was a property developer. And he had all these massive property developments. And he was a super rich man, lived in a big white house in a big hill. But then he got sick. And back then, there was no deal insurance. There was no anything. All of his money went back into the deal. And then once he got paid out, then he would buy something else or he would start a new deal. The sad thing was he got ill and never finished the deal and therefore lost everything, as did our family. My father's side, I think, was slightly different. My father's father was in the Navy. His mother, I don't know what she did. I'm not sure, I'm not sure with that. That's all a bit hazy because, the family histories, who knows what they are. Right, so what I'm saying to you is on one side there was money, on the other side there's not. So, my historical feelings and my generational education could have gone either way. If that money had stayed there and my parents had got married and we'd done that, we might have had more money, we might not. I grew up in a household where church was, a big deal. Not in the way you might expect. I grew up knowing my father was vicar and knowing that he went to the big stone building that had God in it. And he would go and talk to people and help people and make their lives better, while necessarily his wasn't getting any better. When you put forward my history, you can see why nowadays, maybe I like to think about things. I like to understand what I'm talking about before I talk about it. I don't want to be negative towards people, especially if they're in trouble or they're being lied to or they're being maligned for no reason. I have the ability now, and I mean that now I've grown up a bit, now I've educated myself a little bit, now I've seen through the lies that we're all being told. And so, as a direct result of my father's influence, I can talk to people, listen to them. That's the biggest thing. If somebody's telling you a woe, then learn to listen and shut up. Believe it or not, I can be quiet and listen. I know, hard to believe, right? But, okay, so, that's where my past comes from. So if you grow up in a household where your father is a bigot who hates Muslims on principle because they're all bastards, you're going to believe the same thing, right? Until you're old enough to question the values of your family, you're going to believe and perceive the things the same way. Very rarely does a child turn around and go, this doesn't feel right. It does happen. Not everyone is spoon-fed the media, or, by the media, by their parents, by history. But, in this world where more and more and younger technology is providing you with your education, kids as young as 5 and 6 have phones now, because they're going to school. And what happens? Well, the school will phone the parent. Yeah, my son is 5 and he isn't, well, he's 5 in March, and he isn't going to have a phone until he's 35, because I know the dangers of it. No, that's rubbish. But look, when you go to secondary school and you walk into school, then you have to have a phone in your pocket. And that really is for emergencies. And that's a good thing. Your kids are growing up, they do all that. But my son, I will be teaching him to have a balanced view of everything and also to question everything, because that's what I believe. His mother is slightly more laid back than I am about some things, but a lot more rabid about things than I am on other directions. So he's going to get a pretty balanced view of life, and he's quite lucky to have that, in as much as that we've all, both me and my wife, have lived our lives in different struggles and different ways, and those struggles give us the ability to be empathic to others. It does for me. My wife, you know, has views about what she has views about. You have views about what you have. And therefore, those views from your past, from your history, and also what you've gleaned from everywhere around you, unless you're a blinkered person who doesn't want to look up, you've grown in some way towards some decision-making process. I.e., you're either able to be kind to people because you believe that they deserve it, or you're not open to anyone who you don't know, or you're not able to help people because maybe you're not in a position yourself to offer help. We're guided by where we come from. And it might sound like a really simplistic view of life, but don't discount the simple, right? You think a certain way up to a point because that's what you've been told and you've been indoctrinated in through your life, through school, through who you work with, who your friends are. Peer group pressure is the largest provider of misinformation in the world. Yeah, people in the playground are telling you lies because they thought about it, they heard something on telly, they've put their own thoughts into it, and now they're telling it as truth. And that's not, they're not genuinely trying to lie to you, but they're just, you know, sometimes people like to be smart, don't they, and be seen as smart, yeah? Your experience tells you things, right or wrong. You know, I've been misguided about many situations, but then I've looked into the whole side of it. If you look at each argument, it's great, but not everyone's got time to do that. The next time that you're criticising somebody who is in an ethnic minority or in a different religion or in, you know, a different situation to you, people are often criticised for being poor. Holy crap. You know, I've never been well off. In my 20s, I had a bit more money than I do now. I'm not poor. I eat every day. You know, we live hand to mouth in our business, though. You know, if we have 2 bad weeks, we could be gone. But the brutal fact of the matter is that we have the nous to get past these situations because we're all, you know, quite clever people and we can make situations work for us. But, you know, if you're looking at something and you're criticising without any basis in reality, you need to have a word with yourself and you need to understand as well that, you know, you've been lied to for so long, you're used to it. It's that simple. I'm not going to go on about the media and everything again. I always do that and it's boring. But what I'll say to you is, yeah, you're governed by your history up to a point. You're governed by where you come from and who's been saying what to you over all those years. But then you get a point where the slate's wiped clean because then you become an adult. You become somebody who finds their own arguments and information for themselves. And in this world of information and providing information for, you know, for $14.99 on your SIM card a month, yeah, you can find out the realities of any situation. Just remember, just because you read something in one direction on the internet, you need to find what the other direction is saying. Any side of an argument has 2 points, and there will be valid points on both sides. So you can always agree with somebody who you disagree with to a point. Make sure you find out the reality of what's happening. Question them, question everything. Question everything, question everything, question everything, question everything. Question everything. So, if you want to be notified about my new videos that come out every day, or the big long ones, then when you press the subscribe button, there's a bell. Make sure you press on that bell icon and you'll be told every time a new video comes.